I never thought serving tables at my own restaurant would lead to the most humiliating moment of my life. When that arrogant customer raised his hand and slapped me across the face, he had no idea he'd just made the biggest mistake of his entire existence. Here's what happened next. Before I tell you this incredible story of revenge and justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss stories like this. And stick around until the end. The customer's reaction when he discovers the truth will absolutely shock you. My name is Rebecca, and I own a chain of upscale restaurants across the city. But that's not how I started. 15 years ago, I was exactly where you'd expect. Working as a waitress, struggling to pay my bills, dreaming of something bigger. I knew what it felt like to be invisible, to have people look right through you like you didn't matter. Those memories never left me, even after I built my empire from the ground up. You see, success has a funny way of creating distance between you and the reality of your business. When you're sitting in boardrooms discussing profit margins and marketing strategies, it's easy to forget about the daily struggles happening on your restaurant floor. That's why I made a decision that most of my wealthy friends thought was absolutely crazy. Every few months, I would go undercover in my own restaurants, working as a regular waitress. My managers knew, of course, they had to be in on it for safety reasons. But the rest of the staff had no idea that the woman taking orders and refilling water glasses was actually their boss. I wore simple clothes, tied my hair back, put on minimal makeup, and blended in perfectly with the other servers. It was the only way I could truly understand what my customers were like when they thought no one important was watching. The Golden Spoon was my flagship restaurant, the one that started it all. Located in the heart of the business district, it attracted wealthy clients, corporate executives, and people who expected nothing but perfection. The dining room was elegant but not pretentious, with warm lighting and comfortable seating that made people want to linger over their meals. I was particularly proud of this place because it represented everything I'd worked for. On that particular Tuesday evening, I had decided to work a shift at the Golden Spoon. I'd been hearing some complaints about customer service lately, and I wanted to see things firsthand. I slipped into the staff uniform, a crisp white shirt and burgundy apron, and started my shift alongside the other servers. The evening started normally enough. I took orders, served food, and chatted politely with customers, just like any other waitress would. That's when he walked in. From the moment this man entered the restaurant, I could tell he was trouble. He was probably in his mid-40s, wearing an expensive suit that he clearly thought made him more important than everyone else. He had that particular swagger that screamed entitlement, the kind of person who believed the world owed him something just because he had money in his pocket. He was accompanied by what appeared to be business associates, 2 other men who seemed uncomfortable with his loud, demanding presence. They were seated in my section, which meant I would be their server for the evening. I approached their table with my usual friendly smile, ready to provide the excellent service the Golden Spoon was known for. But from the very first interaction, this customer made it clear that nothing would be good enough for him. "Finally," he snapped before I could even introduce myself. "Do you have any idea how long we've been waiting? This is supposed to be a high-end establishment, not some roadside diner." I glanced at my watch. They had been seated less than 3 minutes ago. I maintained my professional composure and apologized sincerely. "I'm so sorry for any delay, sir. My name is Rebecca, and I'll be taking care of you this evening. Can I start you off with something to drink?" He looked me up and down with obvious disdain. "Water, but make sure it's filtered, not that tap garbage. And I want lemon slices, not wedges. Can you handle that, or do I need to speak to someone more competent?" His companions looked embarrassed, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. One of them tried to lighten the mood by making a joke, but the rude customer wasn't having it. He was clearly in one of those moods where he wanted to take his frustrations out on someone he perceived as powerless. I brought their drinks promptly, ensuring everything was exactly as requested. The filtered water was perfectly chilled, served in our best glasses with fresh lemon slices arranged just so. But when I set his glass down, he immediately found something to complain about. "This glass has water spots," he declared loudly, holding it up to the light. I looked closely and could see maybe the faintest trace of a mineral deposit, something so minor that most people would never notice. Don't you people know how to wash dishes properly? I'm not drinking from dirty glassware. I apologized again and quickly replaced the glass with a spotless one. But as I was setting it down, he continued his verbal assault. You know what your problem is? You people in service jobs just don't care anymore. You think showing up is enough, but let me tell you something. Excellence requires effort. Maybe if you applied yourself, you wouldn't be stuck serving tables your whole life. His words hit me harder than he could have imagined, not because they were true, but because I remembered being in that exact position years ago. I remembered customers who made me feel small, worthless, like my dreams didn't matter. The difference was, now I had the power to do something about it, but I couldn't reveal that yet. I needed to see how far his cruelty would go. When it came time to take their food orders, he became even more difficult. He questioned every ingredient, demanded modifications that would require the kitchen to basically recreate each dish, and insisted that his steak be cooked to an impossible standard that he described as perfect medium rare, but not too pink, and definitely not gray anywhere. I relayed all of his requests to our excellent kitchen staff, who worked their magic to accommodate every single demand. The food that came out was absolutely beautiful, restaurant quality at its finest. I was proud to serve it, knowing that our chef had gone above and beyond to make everything exactly as requested. But when I set his plate down, his reaction was immediate and explosive. "This is garbage!" he shouted, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Look at this steak!" I specifically said medium rare, and this is practically raw in the center. "Are you trying to poison me?" I looked at the steak. It was perfect, exactly medium rare with a beautiful pink center and perfectly seared exterior. But I maintained my professional demeanor. "I'm so sorry, sir. I can have the chef prepare you a new one right away. How would you prefer it cooked?" "How would I prefer it? I told you exactly how I wanted it the first time. The problem isn't the cooking, it's that nobody in this place knows how to listen. You probably didn't even write down my order correctly." He was wrong, of course. I had taken detailed notes and repeated everything back to him for confirmation, but pointing that out would only make things worse. Instead, I offered to fix the situation. "Let me take this back to the kitchen and explain exactly what you're looking for." That's when he stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. His face was red with anger, and I could see that he was working himself up into a real rage. His business companions were looking around nervously, clearly wishing they were anywhere else. "You know what? I'm done with your incompetence," he snarled, stepping closer to me. "I've been patient enough. I've tried to give you chances to get this right, but you people just don't get it. Maybe you need to learn what real consequences look like." I could feel the tension in the air. Other diners were starting to stare, and I noticed my fellow servers watching nervously from across the room. But I had dealt with difficult customers before, and I thought I could de-escalate the situation. "Sir, I understand your frustration," I said calmly. "Let me get my manager and we'll make sure everything is resolved to your satisfaction." But my offer to involve management seemed to make him even angrier. "Your manager? You think passing the buck is going to solve this? You screwed up, and you need to take responsibility for your failures." What happened next was something I never could have anticipated. In all my years of working in restaurants, through all the difficult customers and stressful situations, no one had ever crossed this particular line. He raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sound echoed through the dining room like a gunshot. For a moment, everything went completely silent. I could feel the sting spreading across my cheek, could taste the metallic hint of blood where my teeth had cut the inside of my mouth. But more than the physical pain, I felt the shock of complete disbelief. This man had just assaulted me because he didn't like his perfectly cooked steak. The restaurant erupted into chaos. Other customers gasped and stood up from their tables. Several people immediately pulled out their phones to record what was happening. His business companions looked absolutely horrified. One of them actually said, "Oh my God, what did you just do?" But the man himself seemed pleased with his actions, like he had finally taught me the lesson he thought I needed to learn. "Maybe now you'll remember to do your job properly," he said with satisfaction, straightening his tie like nothing had happened. That's when I saw my manager, Carlos, rushing over from across the restaurant. Carlos had been with me since the early days, and he knew exactly who I was. I could see the fury in his eyes as he approached our table, but I also saw him looking at me for guidance on how to handle this unprecedented situation. The customer turned to Carlos with a smug expression. "Finally, some real management. Your waitress here has been completely useless all evening. She can't take an order correctly, can't communicate with the kitchen, and clearly doesn't understand basic customer service. I had to teach her some manners since you people obviously haven't." Carlos looked at the red handprint on my face, then back at the customer. "Sir, I need you to step back immediately. What you just did constitutes assault, and I'm calling the police right now." The customer laughed, actually laughed. Assault? It was barely a tap. These service workers need to learn their place. If she can't handle a little correction, maybe she should find a different job. That's when I decided it was time. I reached up and untied my apron, folding it carefully and setting it on the table. The customer watched with amusement, probably thinking I was quitting in shame. But then I looked him directly in the eyes and spoke in a voice loud enough for everyone in the restaurant to hear. "My name is Rebecca Martinez," I said clearly, "and I am the owner of this restaurant. I'm also the owner of the Golden Spoon chain, which includes 12 locations across the city. You just assaulted the person who signs your servers' paychecks and pays for this building." The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. His mouth dropped open, and I could actually see his hands starting to shake. His business companions looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. The entire restaurant was dead silent, everyone straining to hear what would happen next. That's impossible," he stammered. "You're just a waitress. You can't be— you were serving tables." "Yes, I was serving tables," I continued, my voice steady and controlled. "I do that sometimes because I believe in understanding every aspect of my business. I believe in knowing how my customers treat my employees when they think no one important is watching. And tonight, I learned exactly what kind of person you are." I turned to address the entire restaurant, speaking to the dozens of people who had witnessed what happened. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to know that what you just saw is completely unacceptable. No server, no service worker, no human being should ever be treated the way this man treated me tonight. The fact that he felt comfortable striking someone he thought was just a waitress tells you everything you need to know about his character." By now the customer was frantically trying to backtrack. "Look, there's been a misunderstanding here. I didn't mean— I was just frustrated with the service and maybe I overreacted a little bit." "A little bit?" I repeated. "You assaulted an employee because you didn't like your perfectly cooked steak. You spent the entire evening insulting and demeaning someone you thought was powerless to fight back. The only thing you're sorry about is that you got caught." Carlos had already called the police, and I could hear sirens in the distance. But I wasn't done yet. I had something more to say, not just to this man, but to everyone who was listening. "You know what the saddest part of all this is?" I continued. "Even if I really was just a waitress, your behavior would still be completely inexcusable. A person's job doesn't determine their worth. Their position in life doesn't give you the right to abuse them. Every single person who works in this restaurant, from the dishwashers to the managers, deserves to be treated with basic human dignity." The customer's business companions were already distancing themselves from him, literally stepping away and shaking their heads. One of them approached me and said, "Ma'am, we are so sorry. We had no idea he would— We don't condone this behavior at all. We'll be ending our business relationship immediately." As the police arrived and began taking statements, I watched this man's world crumble around him. The other diners were posting videos on social media, and I knew his actions would follow him for a long time. His business associates had abandoned him, his reputation was destroyed, and he was facing criminal charges for assault. But beyond the immediate consequences, I hoped this moment would serve as a wake-up call, not just for him, but for anyone who thinks they can treat service workers as less than human. Every person working in hospitality, retail, or any service industry is someone's daughter, someone's son, someone with dreams and goals and dignity that deserves respect. As I gave my statement to the police, I thought about all the servers who had been in my position over the years, the ones who didn't have the power to reveal themselves as the owner, the ones who had to smile and take abuse because they needed the job, the ones who went home crying because customers had made them feel worthless. The customer was arrested and charged with assault. The video of his actions went viral, and he faced significant professional and personal consequences. His behavior cost him business relationships, damaged his reputation, and served as a very public example of what happens when entitlement goes too far. For me, this incident reinforced why I do what I do, why I built my business with a focus on treating employees well, paying fair wages, and creating an environment where people are valued for their contributions. It reminded me that success isn't just about profit margins and expansion plans. It's about creating a workplace where human dignity is never compromised. The Golden Spoon implemented new policies after that night, including immediate removal of any customer who mistreats staff and additional training for all managers on how to handle abusive situations. But more than that, we started a program to support service workers throughout the city, providing resources and legal assistance for those who face workplace abuse. That slap stung for a few hours, but the lesson it taught has lasted much longer. It showed me that no matter how successful you become, you should never forget where you came from. It proved that standing up for what's right sometimes requires putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. And it demonstrated that karma has a way of working things out, even when it takes a dramatic twist to get there. Can you believe the nerve of some people? This story proves that you never know who you're dealing with, so always treat everyone with respect. If you enjoyed this story of instant karma, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible real-life stories. What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my other videos about standing up to bullies and workplace justice. Until next time, remember, kindness costs nothing, but rudeness can cost everything.